Stuart, the team's fourth in the league, semi-final of the League Cup. I feel the team's in a good place.
Yeah, no, we do. Obviously, a lot of drama last Saturday with regards to trying to get to the 3 points, but I think when you look in the Saturday night, there's an element of content always ward against this, being too comfortable and thinking that you're in a better place than what you actually are. I still think there's loads more to come from us as a group. Lots of different elements that we can do slightly better within games. We feel we can play better than possibly what we did on Saturday against St Mirren. That's not to say that parts of it weren't good, that it definitely was, but just trying to sustain that more, trying to find a level of consistency. But as I say, when you sit there on the Saturday night, you feel as if you've done a lot of what you set out to achieve to this point, and it is an early point still in the season, but loads for us to enjoy, loads for us to like. And I think the main message for me to the players and the football club is that we strive for more of those good feelings on a Saturday night, and obviously trying to see if we can be competitive in cup competitions. And I think if we can continue to do that and get some of the levels out of the guys that are playing just now, then it gives us every chance of doing so.
Is that the challenge then to the players, Stuart? Listen, you've got top four, it's early doors, let's try and stay there.
Yeah, well, of course, and you always want to try and see if you can upset the odds. You always want to try and see if you can achieve something that you haven't for maybe a long time. But I'm certainly not getting carried away with myself. I think the most important message that I can give, and I have done time and time again with the players, is you set out for what you want to achieve. You set out for small milestones, shorter term milestones that you want to try and reach. I say this with young players all the time. You get to that point and then very quickly sometimes you can fall back. So for me it's always this age-old debate of how do you find a level of consistency, how do you do it time and time again. And I think just by doing the basics well, I think by breeding good habits throughout the football club and having a clear understanding of what you want to do in a particular game of football, having an identity of how you play as a team, and if you get all of those things, we're all creatures of habits in football. How do you prepare to get that level? How do you continue to try and reach those levels? Finding this consistency for me is the golden ticket with every player, and trying to forge a really good career, but also trying to forge good seasons within your football club as well.
Have you got anyone coming back?
No one to add to it. I mentioned last week about Shane Blaney, Johnny Katrumbis, Apostolos. These guys have not come out since they came back into training, so they're pushing closer towards, I'm going to say full match fitness. It's not, because we've not had any minutes into them as such. Apostolos we have, but the other two we've not. And then we're just minus two players this weekend that we know about. Dan Casey, 1 match suspension, and Jair Tavares obviously can't play against his parent club. So we're without 2 for that group, and everyone else I foresee being available.
Did you have any discussion about Dan's red card potential appeal when you saw a similar incident the next day where Johnson didn't get any card? Was that a discussion you had with the club or with Willie Collum at all?
No, I was at that game on the Sunday. To the naked eye, I didn't see it. I was sitting next to the match delegates and the referee supervisor, and the guys sit with earpieces in, so it's quite good. You actually getting on an in-game commentary. So very quickly we realised that there was a handball incident. I don't know. I'm sort of asking the question what the differences are in them. You know, there can be that debate in the Rangers game as to whether the goalkeeper's going to save it or not. I think that's the one clear difference between the two opportunities. Our goalkeeper wasn't in a position where he was going to save the ball. Dan Casey's went full throttle across the goal. I heard a few things where people were saying he's come across and deliberately handballed it. I think any of us that were there would acknowledge that he's not deliberately handballed that. He's come across, he's tried to put his chest and his face in the way, his legs in the way. Again, we talk about, I'm not going to get out my seat and start showing you what I think he done, but I just feel that it was a little bit unfortunate, but not one that I've had a conversation about, and not one that we've appealed, we've accepted. It's a 1-game ban, but it's definitely not deliberate handball, and Dan's still adamant, and we've actually got a camera angle where we feel that it has came off his body and then onto his arm. But you know, is it going in the back of the net if it doesn't touch him? Yeah, I would acknowledge it was definitely going to hit the back of the net. But all of that said, I'm not finding myself in a position where I'm getting embroiled in trying to dissect the handball rule. I think for me personally, the two of them look quite similar in many ways, that it looks as if the ball potentially could go in the back of the net. But we move on for it. Dan's accepted his fate and then knows he'll not play a part in the game this Saturday, so have we, and we'll crash on from there.
Obviously Kofi Balmer got his chance in the league. He's had to be patient for that. You're pleased with him and the way he's kind of been patient over the last few weeks as well? I actually had a conversation with Kofi a couple of weeks ago. I think it's always important to acknowledge how well people are performing, run about training sessions when they're not necessarily getting on the pitch, and he has been. He's been training really, really well. We knew we were bringing in a good player anyway. Obviously comes with good pedigree, for his age, pretty decent match experience as well. So he's always been one that we think can grow and flourish here at the football club. But he's had to be patient to try and get an opportunity, and it wasn't an easy scenario for him to come on. You know, you've just went down to 10 men. At that minute, St Mirren have got their tails up quite clearly, and he actually gets a yellow card because he's so desperate to come on to the pitch. If you remember right, for the game at the weekend, he comes running on the pitch before we've actually taken Moses off at that point. And you don't want yellow cards, but I tell you what I do want. I want players that have that appetite to sprint onto the pitch and go and put themselves out there. And he absolutely done that. Thought he'd done well, and he gives himself a chance to take part in the game, obviously on Saturday, because he's not been sulking. He's not been feeling sorry for himself. He's been trying to do absolutely everything right. And when you get your opportunity in a team that's doing pretty well, you have to make sure it counts. You have to make sure that you make some sort of impression. I thought he did.
You were able to see on Saturday how far he can throw a football. I mean, how little or often do you use that on Saturday? Does it give a wee bit of added dimension to your plans? Yeah,
I can't kick a football that far, to be honest with you. You hear the gasp when everybody sort of sees it, but it's a weapon, I suppose. It's a tool that you can use in so many different situations. We tried to use it to get us up the pitch in stages when he came on the park, you know, so it wasn't even in that final third. But something I will be really transparent about with you guys, but I've said this to Kofi and I've said it to the coaching staff and the players. We're not a team that sets up for long throws. We don't play for long throws. We play to try and create and score chances from open play. We have a way of playing. We have a definitive structure which I talk about here all the time in front of you guys. We have a game model, if you want to call it that. What we do in possession, what we do out of possession, we drill the players on it every single day, and something like a long throw is only just a small add-on to that. If you feel you've got an opportunity to try and utilise it, then of course we will, but I'm not playing the game just so that we can have our centre back patrolling about the pitch and trying to launch balls into the box. Yes, play off it, but it's not what we're playing for.
You spoke about consistency there. I think Lennon's on course to potentially play his 50th game for the club at the weekend. What is it he's done behind the scenes consistently to make sure he can be in the team so often as he has been performing so well on that consistent basis last season? I
go back to it again. You get opportunities, you get windows of opportunity where you need to go and prove and show to people that you can handle the demands of, you know, what is Premier League football here. I had a little bit of a rant, and again I'll be honest with this, I had a little bit of a rant for our under-18s group who I watched here through the week. They had a brilliant opportunity to go and perform well out in that beautiful pitch out there in the Youth Cup against Ross County, and they fluffed their lines. They fluffed their lines really, really badly, in my opinion. Now that sounds as if I'm going really hard and heaping a lot of pressure onto young players, but I take such a big interest in it. I go and I continually watch any game of football because I want to see one thing, one element out of it, and sometimes you only get a few opportunities. You know, we would love to tell players that they're going to get 20-30 opportunities to go and impress, but sometimes, you know, the Youth Cup out there on the first team pitch might be a huge opportunity for you and you miss it. But the bit that you're asking me, how's Lennon made a difference? Every time you've put a big task in front of him, whether it be playing as a deep line midfielder, a more offensive midfield player, training sessions, playing against top midfielders in this country, at no point has he come up short. And I don't think you'll always get it right. I don't think you'll always perform to an 8, 9 or 10 out of 10, but what I think you have to do is show the traits that you'll be capable of, and that's all I ever look for. I don't look for it to be pitch perfect, but I look to be able to see aspects aspects where I think you can grow and you can improve, and if we get a chance to coach you and that you're receptive to the shortcomings within it. So I'm trying to make a wee comparison with something I watched during the week there, but that is definitively a message to everybody at our football club that these window opportunities come. Lennon gets a chance to play his 50th game this weekend for the first team, because he's shown so much quality and so much composure in big moments, when you're tested physically, when you're tested mentally, when you're tested tactically. He's a guy that stood up to all of those challenges.
Given that Lennon's done that, do you think he's knocking on the door of the Scotland first team at this point, or do you think it's too early?
I'm absolutely no concern about that whatsoever, none whatsoever. He's been selected for the under 21, or I would imagine he'll be in that under 21s group again, or is. So yeah, that's all I'm concerned about. Is him playing well here, trying to create opportunities for himself, and I always believe if you're getting that right at your football club, or wherever you're asked or tested, then the good things will start to happen for you, and I can confirm that Lennon's got absolutely no concern about that whatsoever. We're not sitting here feeling sorry for ourselves if he's not in a national team, which has done pretty well over a number of years.
Getting on to Saturday, I'd imagine you've seen Hibs quite a lot, but you guys are on a roll as well, aren't you? You're on form, you're on momentum as well. Yeah,
we spoke about it right at the start. We've obviously had a decent start to the season in both the Cup and the League. So yeah, whenever you go to Easter Road, it's always a test. I feel that they're a really open, expansive side. I think they try and stretch you. I think they've got a lot of pace in their team. They've obviously invested heavily in their group to try and build from last season. With Davey coming in as the manager, they obviously will be looking for a better season probably than what they had last year. We all do, we all look for that. I watched them at Ibrox at the weekend, as I said, and I thought that I thought they really grew into the game, and I thought they carried a real threat. And by the end of that one, I think you could see that they were playing with good confidence as well. So it's going to be a difficult game for us, but I always think it is when you go to Easter Road.
Stuart, on Lennon, he obviously scored a couple at the weekend. Is that one of his challenges going forward, to add more goals to his game?
Yeah. Good to marry these things in as well. We work with an individual development plan as well, and again that's me going into the broader spectrum of that, but we challenge each player to ensure that they have a specific thing that they're working on every single day. They have to take ownership for that, and that's safe to say that that's one thing that Lennon wants to start adding to his game. That's kind of been point one on the list for him just now, is to go and start seeing if he can pitch in with more goal contributions. So really pleased at that, and kind of how we look at this is if you start to get that right and you're whatever 70-80% towards that, you move on to look at another element of your game. So that's a real positive for him.
Can I just go back to where Motherwell are just now to where, say, you were just over a year ago? I remember right after the Ross County game you were going through a tricky period yourself. Did you always feel that you were going to turn this around and take Motherwell to where they are just now?
Yeah, we've not done anything as such. We definitely not done anything as such. But from me personally, I always do. Very methodical in how I try and work. Pride myself on trying to get the best out of individuals. Pride myself on trying to be sort of pragmatic and having an understanding of how you can play with a particular football club with the group of players that you've got. And I think the one thing about last year, and I did say it, that specifically at the time, 100% had the backing of the football club and 100% had the backing of the players. If I have any feeling that there's a bit of doubt for the players and that they're not with me and they're not buying into what I'm doing, then I probably wouldn't have felt like that. But I did say at the time I felt you could go to any member of staff or any player, and we all had a belief that the results maybe weren't reflective of the performances, but we always felt that we could come out the other side of that. And yeah, we did come out the other side of it last season without question, but always this season it's been trying to build on that, not look back too much but try and look forward.
You're talking about the support that you receive from the players in the club. You're almost repaying the faith that the club has shown in you.
Yeah, but if we go back into this debate of, should clubs show support in someone that have selected to take charge, I can't answer that question for other football clubs. I can only comment on it here, and I'll reiterate the fact that there was never a question mark over my position. That conversation was never had. I think you guys know I'm honest enough to say if that had been a factor, but it hadn't. There was full trust from everybody that I work with every day. I understand that might not look that way in the press, or maybe sometimes for the stands plans or whatever, but I can assure you that it becomes an easier job when you have the backing from everybody. But I feel that I've got to show something within that as well, you know, trust when people are doing well for me, consistency in how I work, because I think the one thing that players hate, and they'll tell you in the modern era, is that if I just keep ripping up plan A and trying to come up with plans B, C, D and E, we'll alter plan A and we'll adjust it in game and maybe before particular games, but to completely rip up and change the way that we want to play and what we think is best suited for this football club just creates mass confusion amongst the players. As much as people want to see you completely change the personnel and see if we can see something different, play a completely different shape, play a completely different way of playing, for me it takes so long to try and master an outline of what you want to be, and from that I'm always about a plan B. I'm always about trying to see if I can adjust small tweaks that sometimes people don't see, but the best version you'll get from us if we work consistently, and that's what I've tried to do over the last, whatever it's been, 19-20 months.
You said about sitting fourth, Stuart, getting into the semi-final and the guys not looking too far ahead, but how difficult can it be for maybe the non-experienced guys not to maybe get a bit excited and kind of stick to what we're trying to do?
I can genuinely tell you that we've not spoke about the semi-final. I've not heard one murmur of it from the group of players. I think you could see where motivation was purely St Mirren at the weekend, and we could have got caught up with ourselves and started to read our own press and all the rest of it. But where I have a massive trust is I keep going back to the staff, I keep going back to the senior players, that if anybody starts to mention that and starts to get carried away with themselves, they would be firmly put back in their box, and that's not a threat, that's just how it has to be. That's how it's always going to be, as far as I'm in charge of a football club, because these games that we have to face in the lead up to that are far too tough, and if we start detracting 20-30% of our attention somewhere else, then we're going to leave ourselves seriously short for games. Our 100% focus is Hibs this weekend, because of how difficult a task it's going to be to get anything there, and as I say, as the weeks start to go on, then you'll start to take care of each challenge that's in front of you, but remain level-headed, remain focused on what the next job is, and I think you give yourself the best chance.